Welcome to another episode of Going with the Flow. I'm the host, Lucas Cellino, podcast about Cellino Plumbing and its coworkers. And today I'm joined with Chris Nowak.
Good morning, sir, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Chris. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
We got a long background together. So we grew up pretty much across the street. Why don't you kind of bring us through? Let's start there. How we met, and then maybe just transition into how you got into heating and cooling.
Yeah, you grew up down the street from me. My father was the heating and cooling guy, and your dad was the plumbing guy. So they both started their own companies several decades ago, and then everything evolved from there.
Yeah, so there was a Cellino Plumbing truck one way, heating and cooling the other way. We were born in Lancaster, Park Boulevard. What was your street name?
Colonial.
That's which I was like right on the corner, so it was diagonal. Could have thrown a stone, and we had mutual friends. We'd play street hockey growing up. So
yeah, we had a nice little cul-de-sac together, and we didn't have to go too far.
Yeah, and we had the flats kind of guarding the back, and I used to catch
corner store on Lake Avenue. Got those slushies in the summertime.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then you were a bit older than me, so as a youngin, you didn't pick on me too much. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But no, it was a great time growing up, and then. So your father had heating and cooling. You didn't always want to go into that though, right?
Yeah, I remember in high school, we went to the convention center for the college fair. And I think I was probably 16 or 17 at the time. And my parents were like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, I have no idea. So they said, "Well, why don't you go to a SUNY school and go for business? It's general enough and then you can adjust from there." So I ended up going to SUNY Oswego, had a great time, went for business, and then got my degree.
Yeah, no, so mine was a little different. I just always wanted to be a plumber. I loved fixing things. So I grew up, I wanted to ride my dad, wanted to do that. My parents wanted me to go to college for business, as I always planned to run Cellino Plumbing at some point. And I fought. I said, Tone didn't go to business school. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
I was always good with numbers, and I really just wanted to get to work. But they kind of forced my way in there. If you're ever going to take over this company, you got to go to school and get a degree. So both ended up in the same business with the same degree, but kind of a different path there.
Yeah, I mean, I changed my mind so many times. Like at one point I wanted to be an airline pilot, then I was minoring in economics, and at one point I was going for pre-law. So once I really got into it and started learning the technical things, I really discovered my interest at that point.
Yeah, so what was it? Was there like a moment where you're like, okay, I want to do heating and cooling and work with Dad?
Yeah, so I mean, I dabbled in a bunch of things. So like I was in high school and college in the summers and Christmas breaks. I worked at McDonald's. I was an overnight manager there for a while. And then when I was in school, I worked in the admissions office and I was a tour guide. And I was the biggest cheerleader for Oswego. We'd work all the open houses. We'd do tours when families would bring their kids there for visits. And there was just great enthusiasm. So I was really I was well-versed, I thought, in a whole bunch of things. So I just, I tried a lot of things and found out what I liked and didn't like. And like I said, once I got into the technical things, I really fell in love with it. I always helped out too. My cousin Kenny, he was one of the guys that trained me. He was 4 years older than I was. So again, I helped out him as just as a helper, just, hey, give me this, give me that in the summers and Christmases. So I had 8 years of experience before I even graduated from college in the field. But once I got out, that's when I really started learning the technical side.
Yeah, no, and I always tell everybody, like, that is a big advantage I had, is just growing up around it. There's a lot of kids we get in, they're, real smart, hardworking, great character, but they didn't grow up with the tools, and it takes a while to really process, that we had a huge advantage just having those in our hand and just talking about it at dinner.
Yeah, once I started training new employees that would work for our company, I realized a lot of things came natural to me, like taking a Sawzall, cutting a 2-inch stick of PVC. I'm like, you cut it. And then when I had some new people that never really had that background in just hand tools, I'm like, okay, well, this is how you hold the PVC and this is how you cut it straight and, apply pressure this way. So it was, I was lucky to have been brought up with that, so I had more of a natural feel for tools.
Yeah, it's one of the scariest things, giving someone first the Sawzall, realizing they don't know to put the shoe against the pipe or whatever you're trying to cut there.
Yeah, so it doesn't bounce, and you're like,
cut off a finger.
Put those gloves on, and then when you're hooking up those refrigerant hoses to the service valves, have gloves on. I had a guy that almost had frostbite who was putting it on. He had a little bit too much of a release, and it's just like these things that come natural. You got to really slow down because there are some legitimate safety issues.
Yeah, there's driving, number one, is one of the most dangerous things that we're driving all around Western New York. You walked in, we had a short conversation, like, yeah, I'm not driving too far, but I'm on the 190, the 90, the 290 back and forth.
Yep.
But that's only the start of it. You get to these jobs and it's, and you don't always know what you're in for.
I just got off a roof up off Delaware in Tonawanda before I got here. And one of the things that I focus on, I had my extension ladder off the truck. You got to put it back on. You got to make sure you strap it. So one of the things I just scream in my head, as soon as I get on that rack, don't take any phone calls, don't talk to anyone, get those straps on, because the last thing you want to do is hit the brakes at a red light and have that extension ladder shoot off the front of your truck through the intersection. So focus on simple things like that.
Yeah, and with the trucks we have going around, trust me, it is stressful at times. Just worrying about everything behind it. Not even the on-the-job safety, the driving, something as silly as the ladder, like you brought up. Even something going up the ladder is always fearful.
Yeah, I mean, think about I was always taught 3 points of contact at all times. So you got two legs, 2 hands. Make sure you always have 3 out of 4. Keep your belt buckle between the 2 rungs. And then as far as getting the foot of the ladder, how far away from the building, that 4-to-1 ratio. What if it's 20 foot high? Make sure the base is 5 foot off the building so that you're not leaning too far forwards or backwards and the bottom slip out. Or even in the wintertime, I'm in icy parking lots all the time, and you got those rubber feet, but if you are in a patch of ice and that bottom kicks out, make sure that's a Monday and not a Friday. You do not get hurt on Fridays, Luke, okay? Pack your truck up and have the bumper support the ladder so it can't kick out. Just things like that. Make sure you don't make any silly mistakes.
Unless it's a Monday.
Yeah,
that's a unique piece of advice. I grew up, don't what was it? The fingers, shit rolls downhill. All those ones get paid on Friday, but that's a new one for me.
Yeah.
Nowak always had a great reputation. So you guys, when did your father start the company?
He started the company in 1980. So
Wow.
It's always been a small company. He always had between maybe 1 and 3 employees, and that was the size that it's always been. We found it to be, it's less efficient than what I found working for Cellino. What I love is that everyone has their own job, their own niche, and one guy doesn't have to take care of everything and get distracted and forget about things that they need to take care of. So
yeah, we've talked about this quite a bit since you come on.
That's the single largest difference that I've experienced only working here for 3 or 4 weeks now.
Well, and the world's just changed a lot too, where for the last 6 years, I've really said, we got to grow or we're going to die. It's too hard to do everything. You were talking about even just were you trying to cancel your car insurance or something?
Yeah, you got auto, liability, workers' comp, and just getting responses from the agents. Every week they seem like insurance agents. They're on vacation or they're going to call you back and then they don't, and you got to chase them. Meanwhile, you're thinking about strapping your ladder to your roof, and then you got to chase an insurance agent. So I'm glad that there's someone in the office that can focus on those things for me.
Yeah, no, we had a guest in before. Previous guest is Marcus in HVAC there.
Yeah.
Great kid, enthusiastic, and one day he wants to start his own company. And I tell everybody, the trade offers you that, right? You could certainly go out on your own. I think it's hard to understand what you're going to run into and all the different obstacles. So I certainly don't push anyone away from it. I don't think they always know what they're getting into. And I think it's just today is a lot harder than it was 20 years ago to run a small company.
Yeah, you don't understand all of the silly things, quote, silly things that one needs in order to start a company that you have to spend money on as far as software and tablets and cell phones. And then just the amount of hours you're going to work not getting actually paid. And being on the phone, we used a clothing company, Cintas, for our uniforms. And I've been trying literally for 2 months to get a hold of our account manager to cancel the account. I've called their corporate office. I've put in tickets. I've called his cell phone. Can't get a call back. So it's just the amount of hours just on something as simple as that is frustrating.
Yeah, no, and I think that's great having somebody like you there, that has had that experience. Number one, I say, even you're going to college for business and everything, to me, those are all great experiences that can always apply.
Yeah.
But your experience is quite unique, where you had all this, you went through all this, where you can appreciate that, where other people, it's, you get the uniform and it's not, it's not even thought of.
Yeah, it's hard to understand until you actually go through it, and you can listen to other people's input that have been there before. And then, ultimately you have the decision to make if that decision is right for you. Just do as much research as you can and talk to as many people that have been in that position before, and then really, take heed of their advice, because it can be an expensive endeavor getting into it. But like you said, if you don't grow, you kind of die, just with how the industry has evolved, especially with the efficiency changes that we've had, the way that our government is pushing, going towards electrification, higher SEER ratings, higher efficiencies of boilers and furnaces, how they changed even the SEER scale. Manufacturers have to revise their equipment all the time. All the parts are proprietary now for each series, each manufacturer. So you really have to be on top of your game, and that takes time. Another distraction to take you away from the job itself.
Yeah. One thing that I think is just really underestimated or undervalued is just getting a clear mind. And that was like one thing, like, especially in this business, when the phone rings, you got to answer, you got to serve them. For you, like, you've seen that, it's like, wow, I can actually like take a deep breath at some point. Yeah. And customers don't realize that. They're calling you and they don't realize it's just a 24/7 gig, 7 days a week. There's no break. So
right, it's nonstop. And to your point about answering phone calls, like if you miss a phone call, that is a missed opportunity. That maybe you lost that customer, or maybe you lost a new customer that could have kept you working in an afternoon instead of going home early. It's just to experience that growth, you have to answer that phone. I feel like in today's society, people are just used to getting things quickly, or that instant gratification, getting some kind of response. Like with Amazon, for instance, the 2-day prime shipping. People do not wait 5 business days to get something that they ordered. They want it now. They want that information, and then you have to answer that phone. Otherwise, that is a missed lead, and you paid a lot of money for that that marketing to make that phone ring, to miss that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like $84 a call is what we now calculated at.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
So, you've been with us for what, about a month now?
Yeah, roughly.
A month. Yeah. So yeah, I actually did your second company meeting here. So yeah, just over a month. But when I got the call and I found out that we had the opportunity to team up, we've done maybe 8 or 9 acquisitions before. This one I was super excited about, and it's, I know the Nowaks, you guys have a really good reputation. You've been around forever. So I knew there would be a great customer list that we'd have the opportunity to acquire, but really was most interesting to me and most exciting was, hey, we get to team up with Chris, get a really good tech that there's just not that many like that. And just running your own business, that you're going to get somebody that's just more responsible, more, I guess, versatile in many ways. You're going to have the experience of problem solving. So even though we have those resources and other people, on a team now, having somebody that's gone through that, where something's wrong and you're that final call, you got to learn how to use reps and everything. That to me is very valuable.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And like with being a small company, you have to, or you've worked on all types of equipment, whether it be boilers or forced air or mini splits, and then you get to know all of the reps yourself because you are the guy that has to make those phone calls. So it's nice feeling appreciated, and I am excited to bring my experience to the table, and looking forward to this.
Yeah. Now, what are your first impressions of Team Cellino? What have you seen that you didn't really expect? Go there.
I don't know if I didn't expect it, but maybe one of the biggest adjustments was me not being able to make all the decisions and all the judgment calls, which is what I was looking for with this. And so it's just a little bit of an adjustment period where I might have to wait for an opinion or a response, whether it be from someone else in the company or from a customer, not having complete control of everything. That's just what I've been used to my entire professional career. So it's a good thing though. It's just, you have to fine tune your, I guess, not expectations, but your timeline. Maybe it might just take a little bit longer to get an answer, whereas you could just make that judgment call yourself. And not being an owner anymore, someone else is making the judgment call.
Yeah. So, I would say this, like even being owner, president, as we grow, I make less and less calls, and I feel like I kind of go through the same thing, right? It's like, I got to wait for this person to make a decision. And I more or less have to follow a system where when we were smaller, I did make a lot of the calls, but And it did take me a while, but I learned to really, really like not having to be the decision maker on many things.
And it could be a good thing too, having multiple heads working to solve a problem. I would like to think that would eliminate some errors. I make errors all the time. You just have to make a decision, do the best job you can, move forward with it. So if there's other people that are giving opinions, that can be a good thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. So Chris, what jobs do you like working on the most? What products? Where do you feel your strengths are, and what do you like doing the most?
What I like doing the most are Cheektowaga ranches, where they got a full basement below the whole house and no additions and crawl spaces. If every house was like that with a basement, you got a forced air furnace, central AC ductwork, that's just the easiest system to work on. The customer's paying the smallest diagnostics fee, where you're able to figure out what the issue is within 15 minutes, and you're able to access everything. Please take note, all those listening at home, do not finish your basement. You do not need a drywalled ceiling in your basement. You do not need hardwood floors in your basement. I don't know what the percentage is, but I've been in a ton of houses, and most of them have some sort of water coming in through that permeable concrete floor through the wall. It could get damaged, and then you're just causing yourself to have a larger service bill afterwards because you have to tear down drywall or open up a ceiling to see what that 2-inch PVC vent pipe off that condensing furnace is doing. Do you have that 1/4 inch of pitch per foot horizontally, or are you getting an open pressure switch fault code because some water's getting trapped where the guy didn't really support the 2-inch PVC vent pipe correctly? And then you're just guessing because homeowners don't like ripping down drywall for whatever reason. They'll pay good money for a plumbing or an HVAC visit, but man, you tell someone they got to cut open some drywall in their house, it's like, oh, I can't find someone to fix drywall, which always blows my mind. Open up the walls, let us have access. Let's ensure that equipment is installed correctly so that you don't have these annoying intermittent problems moving forward.
So I 100% agree. It is the severity of diagnostic work needed once you drywall that ceiling it's 10 times harder.
Yeah.
If not worse. And you'll never really know if it's done right.
And someone's uncle always helped put the sunroom on the back or put an addition on, and they love running water lines in unconditioned spaces. And when you get those cold days, like when you get those single digits in Buffalo, I always get phone calls about my pipe burst, and you got to come here and you got to turn the water off and you fix it and whatever. I'm like, these problems are just completely avoidable if there was just a little bit more planning and foresight initially. So that's why I like full basement under the house so you can access everything and don't box in the furnace with 2x4s and then paneling from the 70s.
Yeah, it's left such an impact. You were just at my house. I did everything exposed to the whole house.
Yes.
I hate stuff hidden for that reason.
Yeah, except for that line set and that 2 or 3 inch copper pipe.
Yep.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
I think John probably had to fish that line set. So
yeah.
Good job, John.
That was Tony's idea. Tone comes up with some pretty unique ways, but I love copper too. Growing up in the plumbing world, my favorite color is copper.
It looks good, and I don't know if you've ever been in the basement of I think is it Brewworks in East Aurora on Main Street.
I have.
They got the bar in the basement, and if you look, they have all these fake taps that are made out of copper.
Yep.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's no solder at the joints. So we go there after dinner, and I'm like, just looking, I'm like, how did they seal those copper joints? And it's all fake.
They have a tube to run through it.
Yeah. So I thought that was a real cool look.
Yeah, that's funny. Again, growing up, I'm sure we have some similarities like that. I can't go to a restaurant and not look at the plumbing.
When they have nice spiral ductwork in an exposed ceiling at usually a new brewery, I got to look up. I got to see if that spiral duct is sweating. Sometimes they'll put the condensate traps under the ductwork. I'm like, oh, man, you ruined that.
Yeah. No, and you got to always find something that you would have done differently, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's the first thing I'm doing when I'm looking up. And then I remember when I was looking for my house back in 2018 with my father, me and him would go straight down into the basement, and then everyone else was going to the kitchen because they got to see, do you have that nice subway tile backsplash? And are those countertops granite? And I'm like, nah, man, galvanized pipe, the entire house.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, for sure. Future headache.
Yes.
Chris, is there anything I didn't hit on that you want to elaborate on at all?
I think I'm enjoying my career here so far. I am already, I think, less stressed. I was just playing pickleball the other night. My buddy Kenny said to me, I've already noticed a difference in the past 3 or 4 weeks in your attitude just hanging out. I'm talking about work less when I'm hanging out with my friends. So I'm seeing a positive impact. So we're going to be working on porting over that phone number and getting that customer list transferred into Service Titan. Let the customer service reps take care of the phone calls. And then once that happens, I think I'll feel even better than I do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we've talked quite a bit about pickleball. I've had paddles now for a year and a half, and it's something I really want to do. I know you go out quite a bit.
Yeah, I'll keep inviting you. And
I'm going to take you up on it.
We got to just schedule a date a few weeks in advance before you get that golf appointment.
Yeah, well, we got that's part of the problem. I try and prioritize. If I'm not working, I'm probably golfing or with the dog hiking. But
we'll block off a time in Service Titan.
Yeah, I think we announced this golf team. Pickleball is at the top of my mind though. If we could ever figure out a way to get a pickleball court, I'm all for it.
Oh, I messaged Megan 15 minutes after that,
Perfect.
And I gave her Andrea's number at Southtown Tennis. So hopefully they can make something happen.
Yeah, that'd be great. Chris, do you mind if we do a news segment presented by Trainwreck Sports? What the Flush?
Absolutely.
All right, we're looking for a story where you get there, some job experience where you get there and it's like, what the flush just happened?
So I think the best story, it actually didn't happen to me, but my cousin Kenny, who trained me as I was coming up in my career. This was maybe 10, 15 years ago during one of the many Buffalo snowstorms that we had. We had an older lady who lost heat in her house, and she called up my cousin Kenny to come fix the house. He quickly learned that she had early onset dementia, unfortunately, so her memory wasn't the greatest. So he went down in the basement when he got to their house, looked at the furnace, was down there for a while diagnosing and troubleshooting. Maybe a half hour, 45 minutes or so went by, he said, and she claims that she forgot that he was down there. She heard some noises as if somebody had broken into her house and was down in the basement, so she called the police. Police came in, drew a gun on my cousin, asked him what he was doing, and he said that she called him to fix the furnace, and she forgot that he was down there. So that really gave him quite a startle that day.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, not only did he have to truck through the snow, you have the police that have to as well.
Yeah, he parked down the street because her half of the street was blocked off, so his truck wasn't even in front of the house, and he was, I'm happy it happened to him and not me, I guess.
Yeah. Now, big question. Did he fix the furnace?
Yeah, he fixed the furnace. The pipes didn't freeze, and she didn't need any plumbing work. So had a happy ending at the end of it.
That's great. That is a what the flush for sure. Awesome. Well, Chris, thanks again for coming in. It's a pleasure working with you, and hope to see you around here for quite some time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.